I bought a refurbished OG Xbox bundle from Lukie Games for $200, and in this video, we're going to take an in-depth look at the console and see if they refurbished anything. So I paid about $190 for the console and controller, and then an extra like 14 bucks for a couple games, and you can see the box is pretty smashed up. There's some stuff sliding around in here. Not a great start, but let's go ahead and open it up and see what's inside. All right, and if you guys remember, I've already bought two consoles from Lukie Games. The first one was a PS3, which was not great. Second one was a 360, which was weird because it was like pretty good, but they messed up a whole lot of stuff there. I'll link those two videos down below, but let's go ahead and check this out. See what's inside of here. Got our packing slip or something here. Oh, okay. They have a clock capacitor checkbox. That's a good sign. All right, so here's the packing slip. We got NASCAR, Halo, original Xbox. Put that to the side. See what's inside of here. We got two games in the corner. First glance, they look pretty good condition. Let's take all this stuff out. Oh yeah, the old school third-party controller. Gotta love it. Now let's go ahead and take out the console. Wow, this console just has barely any bubble wrap. There was a little bit of packaging on the bottom, not much, but let's go ahead and take it all the way out. All right, so here's the console. Take a little bit of bubble wrap off, and it's a bit scratched up on the top. Nothing too crazy. They do say that this console is in great condition on the website. I'm not quite sure I'd call this great just at first glance, but it's definitely not bad at all. And my first finger swipe, it feels like they used that weird solution again. I don't know what kind of, they use some sort of cleaning solution where it just doesn't feel clean. I don't know, it's weird. There and here on the front, looks pretty good, except it's got some smudges again, I think from the cleaning solution they use. I don't know why they use that. And then here on the bottom, we do have our two screw holes that have been exposed here. And that's actually a good sign here because it means the console has been opened up at some point. Not sure if it was by Lukie Games or somebody else, but this is interesting here. We have a refurbished sticker. We also have another sticker over here that says buyback, tested by, and date. And the date on it is June 11th, 2011. I'm assuming that's somebody before Lukie Games. And then flipping it around and looking at the manufacturer dates from April 10th, 2002, which means this is a console where you want to remove the clock capacitor. And if you don't know what that is, it's basically a capacitor that holds the time for your console. So when you turn it on, it'll tell you what the time is. And these things are notorious for busting and leaking all over the board and causing issues with the original Xbox. So a critical part of the refurbishing process is opening up this console and getting rid of the clock capacitor if it's an older console or older version. The ones that are like 2004 and newer, I think, don't need them replaced. But for this 2002 console right here, it's critical to get rid of the clock capacitor. And I want to talk about this third-party controller. It is third-party, to be fair. They did actually tell me on the website it was third-party. The alternative was to pay an extra like 70 or 80 bucks for one that came with an OEM controller, and I was like, I'm not paying 70 extra bucks for an OEM controller, so we got third-party. It's all smashed up, but they did tell me this one would be the third-party. So I haven't looked at the back yet. It looks pretty good, not much to see there. You can look through these cracks right here, and you can see the fan, and you can see the metal cage in there, and it looks like it's rusted out a little bit. Hopefully not too bad. Of course, we'll open this up later, but let's go ahead and turn this console on, plug it in, and hopefully it works. And I forgot to check the games. Let's go ahead and look at those. We got Halo. Nice. Fell right out of the box. It does look like a pretty clean game. And then we got NASCAR Chase for the Cup, complete in the box, disc, and manual. Good to see. So guys, if you like my videos here, make sure to check out my website down below. It's called jrobgaming.com, and I've had a newsletter sign up for quite a while now, and in the past I've kind of used it mostly for discount codes for my website, but I'm transforming it now into an actual weekly newsletter where I share interesting gaming content such as, overpriced weird consoles I find, funny gaming content online, and just anything else that I think is interesting. Alright, so now let's plug it in and test it out. So I have the console plugged in, and I want to show you this third-party controller they sent. It's right here on the left. It feels really bad. It's super cheap. And then here on the right is an OEM controller, and they look almost exactly the same except for the branding in the middle. And really, when I look at third-party controllers, I put them in two separate categories. We have fake controllers and third-party controllers. So a fake controller is, to me, a controller that is third-party, but it is made to look exactly like an OEM controller, almost as if to make you think you have an OEM controller, but it's just like the branding is slightly off. And that's what we have here. It just looks exactly the same, and if you don't know what you're looking for, you might actually think this is OEM controller. And then, it's not though. And then this controller right here is what I would call a true third-party controller, where it's clearly a third-party controller, like it's completely different design, not trying to copy the OEM branding. That's my thoughts on the whole third-party controller thing, but it's completely fair to Lukie Games because they told me I was getting a third-party controller. So let's go ahead and turn this thing on and see if it works. Oh, probably helped if I plugged it in. That was scary. All right, there we go. Oh, that's a loud Xbox. All right, it is booting up. Let me plug in my controller here. And of course, we're gonna hit the eject button here, make sure it opens up. It does. Not super smooth, but it is working. So I was just looking inside the disk drive, and I'll show a photo on the screen of what I was looking at, but I like to look for this rubber band that's inside of OG Xboxes and 360s that basically facilitate the functionality of a disk drive opening up. And if that rubber band gets dirty, it can cause issues with the disk drive opening up. This one looks fairly clean. I don't know that they cleaned it or not, but it's clean enough to work with no problem. It is a bit slow though, so I might clean it up. Let's put a game in, make sure the game works. And you can see on the screen that we did to put our time in. And if they did remove the clock capacitor, what will happen is if I'll turn the console off and then back on, it'll ask for the time again. So we'll test that out in a minute. But right now it is booting up the game. But let me know down below if you guys ever played NASCAR games. I say back in the day from, I don't know, 2003 to 2005, they had the best NASCAR games because you could, I don't know why, they were fun. You could drive backwards, crash people with no issue and cause huge pileups and stuff. Lots of fun. But this game is working so far. Let's go ahead and try out the other game as well. Now before I put this game in, I want to check the memory and see if there's any old save data here. Oh yeah, so they didn't delete it, which is fine with me. Like technically they probably should delete the old save data, but it's fine with me. We got GTA Vice City, Halo, NASCAR 05, Panzer Dragoon, Pirates of the Caribbean, Robotech, Star Wars Jedi Starfighter, and Superman Returns. So we have 6 or 7 games here. It's just always interesting to look at the old games and see what people played. So I enjoy that. Let's see if there's any music on here. Audio CD. I don't even know if you could save music on the hard drive. Let me know down below. I'm not sure.
Hi, Danny the editor here, jumping in real quick for a quick public service announcement. Yes, you can burn CDs onto your Xbox. It's one of the best features of the console. In fact, there are some games that even allow you to play your own burned copies of CDs in the game itself. For me personally, this is one of the reasons why I prefer to play the Grand Theft Auto trilogy on Xbox as opposed to PS2, because you can play all of your burned CDs as like a custom radio station in the game. It's awesome. Highly recommend it. Just wanted to make sure you guys all knew about that. It is definitely one of the best features of the original Xbox.
I didn't have an original Xbox when I grew up. I had a PS2. Let's go ahead and put the Halo game in and make sure it works. And man, the D-pad on this third-party controller is so bad. There are some third-party controllers out there that are solid, but in general, I just like OEM controllers a lot better. And dude, the precision on the OEM controller analog sticks is so much better than the third party. I know I'm just railing on this third party controller, but it's really not very good. And now it's even going up by itself. What is going on here? And I forgot we had Halo save data already on here. I just selected this profile, it's just not even thinking about it, but we got kind of interesting to see the names. We got Conmon, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, and K and C, Yoni, Joshua, Kirby, Connor. There's a lot on here. But let's go ahead and open up the Xbox and take a look at the insides. So, so far so good. The console works with no problem. The console is in pretty good condition. Still not a huge fan of the whatever cleaning solution they use. It just leaves marks everywhere, and it leaves like a weird film on the console. I don't know why they use it. So it's pretty easy to open up an original Xbox. You got one screw here, one screw there. Then you take off these 4 rubber feet and then remove 4 more screws. So definitely one of the easier consoles. Dude, it looks like this screw in the corner might have been stripped at some point. That's not good. I think I got this stripped screw. I just had to put a ton of pressure, downward pressure, and then slowly twist it, and it's coming out now. I don't know what somebody did with this screw, but it's like mutilated. And guys, this is why you do not use drills on electronics like this. But we got all the screws out. Thankfully, let's go ahead and flip it around, pull the top cover off, and reveal the inside. All right, top cover off. Looks pretty clean. And we've got our hard drive, of course. Got our ribbon cable. Let's go ahead and remove the disk drive here. So here's something interesting I noticed. The disk drive says manufactured December 2004, but the Xbox you saw was manufactured in 2002. So I guess this disk drive has been replaced at some point. Not sure if that was by Lukie Games or somebody else. All right, I got the hard drive coming out here. So at first glance, the power supply looks fine to me. I don't see any bulging capacitors anywhere so far. Feel free to point out in the comment section if you do see some. Let's go ahead and take out the disk drive and take a look at this clock capacitor, if we can find it. I always forget where exactly they put it at. But let's take a closer look here. And something I didn't point out yet is I'm not sure the last time they came in here and cleaned this out, because there is a lot of dust in here. Like, it's not filthy, but there is dust, and I can see in the fan is coated with dust. Yeah, not sure if they actually opened this up and cleaned it. So a few things here. First of all, I located the clock capacitor, which is right here, this capacitor right there. So it should be removed. And when I saw that it wasn't removed, I was like, oh man, this is not good. But then I took a closer look at it, and it's actually a blue clock capacitor, which I didn't remember seeing on other Xboxes that I've opened before. I looked it up online, and I couldn't find any other Xboxes with a blue capacitor, but I did find a company online selling basically aftermarket clock capacitors that are blue and have an Eaton logo on the side, which I see on here. I'll show a closer up photo. But I think they actually replaced this clock capacitor, that's good. They removed the old one and put a new one on there. I don't know if Lukie Games did that. I'm going to assume they did. It does look like there's some old like residue around here, maybe from previous leakage of the clock capacitor. It was like kind of cleaned up, but not all the way. If you can see that, it's just kind of a little bit, I don't know how to describe it. It just looks like some old discharge kind of stuff around there. I looked at the other capacitors on the board. I don't think any of them are bulging. I might show some photos on the screen, but let me know if you think they are. If they are, they're not very apparent. But I'm going to keep breaking down this console and go a little bit further and see what it looks like on the underside of the board so we can get a better look at if they actually solder something on. But again, I do want to note that even if they did come in here and replace the clock capacitor, I don't think they cleaned it because there's, like I said, it's not filthy, but there's a good bit of dust in here, especially in the fans. Let me go ahead and take the fan out. So actually, before I take the big fan out and the motherboard out, I want to take a look at the heat sinks and see if they replaced thermal paste. And my first guess is no, because I took the fan off of this heat sink and it's just covered in dust down here. Bottom side is caked in dust. Oh yeah, that's great. That's never been touched, has it? So because this Xbox is so old, the thermal paste is pretty much completely dry. So a trick is to turn the Xbox on and let it heat up, so the thermal paste, becomes a little bit easier to deal with. So I'm trying to take this heat sink off now, and it's moving around a little bit, but I still can't get it off yet. There it comes. Okay, got it. Yeah. So this stuff, there's clearly not much thermal paste left. There's actually a little bit more than I thought there would be. Chip is pretty bad as well, and it's got this weird pink thermal paste, and that's the OEM thermal paste. All right, so now for the GPU, got this clip off. Should be able to pop off pretty easily now. All right, there it is. And again, some more pink thermal paste. There's just like nothing left on the chip. I mean, there's a little bit. There's just not much at all, though. That's amazing how it's just like a perfect square around the chip, and then the chip is just bald. So clearly Lukie Games did not replace the thermal paste on this console. Now I'll be honest, it's not quite as critical as like replacing thermal paste on a PS3 or 360, but and I'd say an OG Xbox should have thermal paste replaced. It's one of those consoles that gets hot enough, then the GPU and CPU work hard enough that you need to replace thermal paste, especially for 20 years old. But let me know down below what you think. Let's go ahead and keep going and take a look at the bottom of this motherboard. All right, got the screws out, motherboard flipped over, and you can see the clock capacitor right there. You can clearly see that was replaced, but you can clearly just tell it's not factory soldering. It's the soldering's fine, but it's not factory clearly. So just scanning over this board, I don't see anything else that was replaced. Like I don't see any solder blobs or anything. So I don't think they replaced any other capacitors. Now looking at the capacitors on the front, like I mentioned earlier, I don't think any of them are bulging, but I'll show some photos during this video and let me know if you think they are. So last thing I wanted to show you was this fan right here, which is very dusty. I'll just show a photo on the screen, but ultimately this console is weird. Like if they open it up and replace the clock capacitor, why would they not clean the console? Because clearly this console has not been cleaned in the last few years. And, cleaning falls under refurbishing. To be fair, on their website, they just straight up say refurbished. So maybe refurbishing to them just means wiping down the outside of the console. And that comes into, our final question that you're probably asking, is this better than DK Oldies? And I think the difference with DK Oldies is they say that they clean, test, and refurbish all their consoles. Lukie Games just says refurbish. So I guess they could try to make the argument that refurbishing just means wiping down the outside of the console. I think most of us would agree that that's not the case. I don't know. Weird console, double market price for a non-refurbished console. I don't know, guys. Just go to eBay and find a reputable seller and buy one for like $100 and, either clean it yourself or maybe they've even cleaned it already. A lot of eBay sellers clean stuff and still sell it for way less than $190. So let me know down below what you think, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.